Alright guys, that's Kremp again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The CDL matches are back underway tomorrow. OpTic played Cloud9 last weekend and slammed them 3-0. They scrimmed them last night, and a couple of interesting takeaways. Cloud9 kept the same roster after all of the discussion about that over the last few days, whether they could make a change, whether they would make a change, and frankly whether they should make a change given their difficult run from now until the end of the season. That though seems to be static. The result was pretty interesting as well. Scump and Methods giving their thoughts on the new maps as well that are coming into ranked play. Whether that'll be reflected in competitive in due course, we shall see. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into as always today. We're going to start here with the maps as well, because I know you guys gave your thoughts on this in the comment section below yesterday. What you think of these new maps in the game. We have, well, Grind is coming in, if you guys aren't familiar with that. Of course, it's a classic BO2 map. Some of you guys were joking around about the fact that, you know, look, Ghosty gave his take on that Grind didn't play well back in BO2. And people were saying, look, this kid was like 7 or 8 years old when BO2 actually was doing the rounds. But yeah, this is Barrage, and look, I'm not gonna lie, I've not played this map yet. I'm not sure what you guys think about it, although I read the comments yesterday and a lot of you guys were saying, what are we doing here? And I would frankly be inclined to agree watching the flyover. So Grind I think maybe has a chance, but I know that some people think that Barrage is actually okay. There is, like, you look at it from this angle, it does have like APOC vibes. I don't know if like you guys agree, but the way the sandbags are here in this building, you guys remember that map from Cold War? It was a DLC map, Apocalypse, but it was, you know, people just called it APOC. Some play, I thought it was okay. I didn't like love it, but it was anyway a notable map that was played, and most teams, I would say, and players kind of liked it back then. So maybe it's not going to be the end of the world. These are tryout games, I guess, after all. Although the best maps in recent times have probably been made by Sledgehammer, frankly, the DLC maps that we saw come in for last year. Grind is a slightly more traditional map in many respects, and, you know, I'm looking forward really to potentially seeing this get played again. I don't know, we'll see. Will it be better than some other maps? Maybe. The power positions are strong, but the movement now is different to how it used to be back then, so there's been a bit of talk about it. I'll share these clips as well for you guys in a couple of seconds when, well, Scump and Zinni are talking about it, because Scump haven't played Barrage. When people were mentioning in the chat, yeah, they're putting it in ranked, he thought they were joking, but no, they weren't joking. So they're going to be trialing it. Now, this is what Treyarch have done before. They put things in ranked, whether it works, whether it doesn't, you know, we'll see. Then they make a decision. But to be fair, I don't think many of us expected Dealership Search and Destroy to become a thing, because that got put in ranked. At least they tried it out. People played it and they were like, yeah, maybe this isn't horrific, but it's probably not great. And then the CDL decided to reflect that and put it into the map pool. I think the CDL was absolutely right to change something. It was certainly my feeling going into the Major 3 qualifiers that, you know, something had to change about the watchability of the game, because playing the same map stage after stage, it does get a bit painful, right? Like, we needed something new, and thankfully we got that this stage. And look, Dealership is not Raid, but it's not that bad, and maybe this will be proven to be similar elsewhere. But yeah, a couple of clips I wanted to share for you guys in a second. But before we get there, a bit of drama in challenges last night. These are the current standings in North America for the group standings. Both of the OMIT teams, the regular one and the OMIT Brooklyn team, they're currently heading up both of their groups, so that should really be no surprise. The Challenger season, honestly, doesn't have that long left, really. I mean, I think it's, you know, Major 3, Major 4, and then after that, it's pretty much just the World Cup, right, that some of these teams will be able to qualify for. So yeah, Brack, Spart, Standy and Linz, that's the main OMIT team now. Linz, of course, has gone down there. There was a bit of talk about whether Brack or certainly Standy, maybe even Spart, could have got an offer in recent times by some of the teams looking to make changes. That may still happen. Linz, of course, I think will be back, probably, but I'm not quite as of now. And then the Rex, Merc, Craze and Exceeds team, now FeLo's gone to the league and Johnny have gone to the league, and Exceed after, you know, what these players are like, Exceed after Major 2. In Dallas, at the Challengers was like, effectively, oh, that's it for me, right, like, I'm going to retire. That was the implication. But no, he's back, right? So no surprise, really. Like, these guys, they love it, right? They can't get away, even if part of them wants to. But those are the results in the groups. The drama, though, came out of easyMac, right? Now, it's not easyMac that caused the drama, actually. Like, just to make that very clear, I'm going to explain what's going on here, really. So, easyMac decides, because he's just, like, mental like this, that he wants to track all the stats for this, because the league doesn't do it, and it's good for the scene to have all the numbers. And it's good for the players in challenges to have the numbers as well, because then they get noticed, right? More so by coaches and general managers and stuff like this. So, easyMac, because, like, he's just the GOAT, has decided to go through and track all of these series. If you guys go on the Rake and Point site, you tick off this CDL only thing on the matches tab, you will find all of these games from last night and the respective numbers and the results and everything like that. So we have an all record of it, and this is just what he does. Now, it's like an amazing service that aBeZy tries to do for the scene, and his only requirement to do this for the players and for the scene is that you just don't rage quit the game. That's all it takes, right? It's the bare minimum that aBeZy is asking for. He's like, look guys, if you want me to do this for you and your team, then please just don't leave the lobby at the end of the game and I will track the numbers for you. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen. And when it doesn't happen, aBeZy takes a note. So he basically has like a 3-strike rule. And if that player does it 3 times, then he will stop covering for them, effectively. So this is then the list that he put together last night of what he calls the quit list, right? People that are quitting the games. And Paul 3 times, Uli 3 times. I think, Dender's up there. These other guys are up there too. Like Illy's done it once and all this. So anyway, these are the numbers. And the thing is for aBeZy is that because the players have kind of got to his like strike rule, it would actually mean that certain teams would just simply be excluded, and he doesn't really want to do it. So like he wants the teams to still be there, but obviously the players are annoying him, and like I get it, right? So anyway, Ben J and aBeZy had a bit of a back and forth, and the conclusion of Ben was like, look, maybe this is the final chance, and if it happens again, then these guys will be removed from the site. So that's kind of where the drama came from. If you saw that floating around last night. Speaking of Paul X real quick, I think he did play the challenges like a little bit, and then he turned up to Warzone. So yeah, he says X-Pro trying Warzone full time. So we'll see whether he either follows through with this or what happens, because it's not like there isn't money in the Warzone side. There's so many tournaments, especially with Warzone is now back. There's a bit of hype around it over the last few days. Seems like Warzone is more alive than it's been for some time. So that may help a guy like Paul getting into that community and hoping it works out well for him.
Yeah, and there's no new maps. I mean, they're trialing Barrage in Ranked. And that map is horse piss.
Bro, I thought my chat was trolling me when they said that shit.
They are trialing an awful map.
They said they put Barrage and Grind in. I was like, that's gotta be a one guy. And then my whole chat was like, nope.
Good lord.
This
What CDL game had the best gunplay? That one's very tough.
Best gunplay?
Because even MW 2019 had great gunplay.
I might say last year, bro.
MW3?
Dude, I loved the guns last year, man. I would say this year is probably my number
Scump
one.
is high.
No, I'd say this year's my number one. But I feel like MW3's gunplay was underrated. You didn't like the rival MCW and the time to kill? Bro, I felt like last year was great. I still think this is number one in terms of gunplay, movement, all that shit.
Yeah, Vanguard's underrated.
But let's talk about scrims. First of all, thanks to the Prince for putting this together. I mean, honestly, of the Scrim Champions graphics, this may be one of the better ones, to be fair. Like, I actually think it's done a pretty reasonable job with the guys involved. The one that cracks me up here is Insight, really, right? Because Insight's buff that he gave himself from, like, when he first came into the league, we're talking like 2019 on Singularity, to where he is today. Like, he's had a big glow up Insight. But, they've gave him that glow up again here in this graphic. I thought was mega. So anyway, these are potentially the Scrim Champions. I don't really know whether these will, stay true or not, because, Thieves, OpTic, they were looking pretty good. But Toronto looking pretty good in scrims as well, and by some metrics, they may be considered the Scrim Champions for the time being. But OpTic played Cloud9 in scrims last night. They played one set. It was certainly an interesting set with some takeaways. So OpTic played Cloud9 in the CDL last weekend, and they slammed them. It was not close at all. I mean, it was really, not a competitive series. Cloud9 looked awful. OpTic just destroyed them on the game one and then closed it out from there. So it was a really good look for OpTic, and of course they're now scrimming them a few days later. But it was an interesting scrim set. It was 4-4. I didn't get to watch the entirety of the scrim set. What I did watch, it didn't seem like OpTic were necessarily playing their best stuff. It was actually a pretty rough scrim set for Skyz and Huke, certainly. I think, Skyz went negative certainly most of the maps here, and Huke was not playing at maybe his normal level. So, look, it's a day of scrims. It's something to take away, and I think that sometimes these days can be a good thing for teams, because if you're slamming other teams all the time, 5-0 here, 6-0 there, 8-0 here, or having really good scrim sets against various squads, then, maybe it doesn't teach you enough when you have a bad day or you don't play your best stuff, then obviously it's a talking point. But I think that OpTic didn't really play very well, but it was still 4-4. It's not like Cloud9 beat them. So I think there's some takeaways for C9 as well. But anyway, the Hacienda, usually a good map for OpTic, and the default. Both of those they lost. They won the Skyline, they won the red card actually, which is kind of interesting because it's not a map that I don't think OpTic will especially lean towards playing. They lost the Protocol, some close maps in here, and then the Hacienda was 3-2 to Cloud9, but they won the other ones. They're playing on a Denver server, both with a similar amount of ping. So kind of makes sense that OpTic, they like to scrim the teams that are pretty much right next door to them. So, you know, teams that are based in Texas, they can have the same ping environment. Cloud9, Thieves, stuff like this, we'll see in a second. And obviously these are the various screenshots that, you know, we'll just bring up this one just by way of example, but I'm not going to go through absolutely every single one. This is probably a slightly more indicative story of the scrim set really, with Shotzzy and Dashy. You know, they weren't always playing great, but they usually were round about here. Skyz and Huke slightly in the negative, Simp playing well on the other side. You know, this was the Protocol, for example, that they played, but it's scrims, not too much to read into here. But of course, one of the keynotes is that Cloud9 have got the same team. That is certainly a story, because this Cloud9 team, when it was formed, it's been the same all season, but right now in the league in terms of the standings, they're not looking good. They're like 10th in the league, they're at 95 points, they're still quite a way off qualifying for the World Championship. Rocker are looking better and better, Boston are still looking good, Miami, I mean, they should have improved with their change. OpTic now seem to be certainly better than Cloud9 on the evidence of a couple of days ago, so where exactly do Cloud9 start finding wins, especially when their schedule, their strength of schedule is more challenging, it seems, than many of the other teams around them in that position. So they considered, I mean, we got the confirmation from Capsule himself a couple of days ago that yes, he did scrim with these guys instead of Attach. They tried it, it didn't work, seemingly, because Attach is still there and Capsule most certainly is not. But it is a continual talking point that we will have behind the scenes, I'm sure, because, you know, whenever you contemplate a change like that, you've always got to wonder whether it's going to be followed through with at some point or not, especially when Cloud9, look, they are a bit of a friendship team, and that's okay. I don't mind a friendship team. I think, you know, the team needs to be friends. Obviously, ideally, it should be teammates first, friends after type thing, rather than the other way around. But with that Cloud9 team, I mean, look, aCuRacy's over there as their head coach. He's got a good relationship with Sib, good relationship with Mack from their time on Surge, brought him into the team, and him and aCuRacy, like Attach and aCuRacy, sorry, they are a duo that goes back a very long way. They're like great friends. And, you know, whatever you think about the internal team dynamics and whether they should have made a move or not, aCuRacy is never going to want to drop Attach, right? Like, that's just how it's going to be. Even if it's the right move, and I'm not sure that it is, but even if it was, it's something that, you know, that's why people talk about the Friendship League, right? It's like, it does have its advantages, but also on this type of team, in this type of situation, I'm sure that it does create some challenges when these kind of personal lines are crossed with competition, right? So, look, I'm not saying that they've made the, because, I mean, look, aCuRacy, I imagine, was involved in saying, look, Attach, you're going to step out for a scrim set, we're going to try Capsule. But, you know what I'm saying anyway. So, intrigued your perspective in the comment section below. Today, they are scrimming Rocker and Thieves, it seems. So, these are two big scrim sets, actually, to see how OpTic are currently faring. I mean, OpTic versus Kenny in like an 8-map scrim set. I'll be there to see that one. Really interesting, because it was a banger series they played before. So, I'm expecting this to be competitive. And then they're scrimming Thieves again. More great practice, I would say, for OpTic to get going into a weekend where they play Miami and then they play Falcons. Two series that, of course, they will be expecting to go on to win. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.